Buster, you're such a good-looking boy. Isn't he a really good-looking dog? This is Buster. And Buster has a bad case of separation anxiety. Now, I just spent about 2 hours kind of going through all the little triggers and things that are the reason for it. You saw how kind of grabby he was for that. Down? Down. So I went over a lot of little steps that will help the guardian stop reinforcing his insecurities. But basically, separation anxiety is a panic state. He loses control of his bowels. He destroys carpet. He chews at the woodwork. And the guardians have gone through all sorts of different things with him, with this, including frustration and a little bit of anger because you come home and you don't want to have feces thrown all over the place or see your nice carpet shredded or whatever it is. And it's natural for us to get a little upset. However, it's important that we understand that it's really a panic state. If you had a friend who was agoraphobic, afraid of being outside, and you went outside with them and they peed their pants, the last thing you would do is make fun of them or point it out. And I'm not saying that we were making fun of him, but if they came in, they started scratching it because they were so paranoid, and you're like, stop it, freak out, grow some backbone. That would be very, very insensitive. So I already went through this with the guardian here, but for a lot of people at home, when they have a dog with separation anxiety, they get very angry with their dog for getting separation anxiety, and the dog is not doing it on purpose. So it's important to understand that this is essentially the dog in a panicked state of mind. Now, PTSD is basically when you have cortisol in your blood, and cortisol helps accelerate our breathing. It prepares us for fight or flight, or activates our adrenal glands and all these other things. And so it's good, and it's a healthy thing. If you're walking down a dark alley and somebody starts kind of running at you, gives you that sixth sense, or following you, get that sixth sense. But if you're in combat, and you're in combat for a long period of time, and you're in that heightened sense of awareness, your body is not prepared for that, and you start getting the shakes, it starts shredding your insides. It is not healthy. Dogs that have separation anxiety have a lot of cortisol in their blood. It's called the stress hormone, and it's not healthy for them the longer this goes on. So there's a lot of little things that we can do. We don't want to pet a dog when it's nervous. Anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what you're amplifying and reinforcing. This includes unbalanced states of mind like excitement, fear, stress, frustration. So if he gets nervous, one of the things he's nervous about now, probably because he has the cortisol in his blood, is unknown sounds. Like a screen door or something blows or the house creaks and he just freaks out about it. He's in that heightened sense of awareness where everything is amplified. As we help petting with a purpose and passive training and enforcing rules and all the other things that we went over, he's going to grow more and more relaxed and have the cortisol in his blood less and less, and he will feel less of that panic state, and he'll be less reactive to those things. But in this video, I wanted to offer a lot of tips and suggestions that we can do if we have a dog that has separation anxiety. Now, he actually knows more commands than most dogs do. One of the things I like to have people teach their dog to do is how to stay, and to help the dog practice staying while I go in the other room. At first, maybe I put you in a stay and I go get a drink of water, come back and give you the release word. And then I put you in a stay and then I go to the bathroom. Then I put you in a stay and I go make a sandwich, or whatever it is. So each time he stays for progressively longer periods of time. So usually these dogs need to follow you everywhere. They're in the bathroom with you. We call these Velcro dogs. He is not like that. He can hang out by himself. But he has recognized the triggers that mean that his guardian is leaving. So if one of his guardians, the day that she has to work, she gets up, she grabs her keys, she puts on her work uniform, she puts her special shoes on, she probably sits in a special place, she might grab her work pass, and all these little things. The dog starts seeing all these things and starts getting worked up. Ooh, these are the things that are associated with her leaving. What we want to do is essentially deprogram the dog. So what we would do is, this kind of is going to suck, but for like the next month or so, on the days the guardian does not have to work, we'd like her to recreate the entire process. Now, at first, we want to do that individually. So if picking up keys startles him and gets him started getting whiny, what I would do is pick up the keys, and as soon as he whines, and pick it up and then put it right back down. Pick it up, put it right back down. And you want to keep on doing that until he exhibits this sort of energy. If he starts whining or pacing or moving around, or he gets stiff or his breathing accelerates, he's starting, she picked up the keys, that means she's about to leave. We want to pick up the keys so many times that it is no longer associated with the dog leaving. We want to sit down in the same spot and put our shoes on, stand up, take 2 steps, come back, take the shoes off. Repeat each individual step. So what you might want to do is, we have somebody else in the house, the other person might want to actually just kind of chronicle it by videotaping you when you actually go out to work. Just follow you around the house. And then you can watch that video later on and recognize and make a list of all the little things. And if possible, try to position it. Like if I'm doing this, I would like to actually have the camera a little bit further past here so I can shoot and see the dog and the person at the same time. That way I'm seeing the dog as it reacts to the human, and I can make a list of the things that the dog starts getting breathing about fast, or starts getting twitchy or anxious or whiny. And then those are the things that we're going to deprogram on the list, like I said, by picking the keys up, putting them back down, picking them up, putting them back down. And we're going to go through each individual one and systematically deprogram for those things. Once we've deprogrammed for all of those individual steps, the next step would be actually, this would be what I talked about earlier, getting ready for leaving. So go through all the steps. Now the dog is kind of relaxed. It's like, oh, it's just a drill. Now she pretends like she's leaving when she actually isn't leaving. But this time we actually go down the stairs and we open the door and we go into the garage door. And we close the door. We're not opening the garage door to exit the car out of the house, just the door from the house to the garage. I go in there, wait about 2 seconds, come back in, close the door, come back upstairs, and since it's probably going to be a Saturday or Sunday or a day off, go back, lay in bed, grab your iPad, and read an article. Wait for the dog to return to a completely calm state. Then repeat that step. But next time, I stay outside the door for 2 seconds. Then 3 seconds, 4. The iterations will change. You can push, but if you push too far and the dog starts whimpering or whining, we want to stop. We don't want to push when the dog's, that's what we call above threshold. We want the dog to remain sub-threshold throughout the entire process. So if it starts whining and whimpering, we push too far too fast. Now, one of the things the Guardians might want to do is either get a security camera, which you can get on like Groupon for about $60 and watch it through your phone. So you walk through the door and you're looking, okay, he looks calm, and we come back in. We want to come back in while he's still calm before he has a chance to panic. So that's why the first time we leave, we like, literally, as soon as we close the door, we come right back in. I mean, not even out there a second. And then gradually stay out there for longer periods of time. Once we get up to the point where like 5 or 10 minutes in the garage, hopefully weather will turn, it won't be so cold. Then the next step would be just to open the door to the car. And we have the ding ding, if we have the keys in, or all the sounds that are associated with that. So we open the door, and then I would turn around, come back. I wouldn't even close the door. And then come back in the door, come and sit down, and wait for him to calm down. Then repeat the process. Maybe go out there first, close the door, come back in, settle down, and then this time I open the door again. So we're going to have him hearing the door open and close. When he looks completely calm for that, then we're going to open the garage door. But we're not even going to leave. We're just going to press the garage door opener, and then while it's still opening, before it's even finished, we're coming back in the door. So now again, the garage door doesn't mean she's leaving. Again, systematically deprogram the dog for each individual step. Eventually, when you can do that, wait for the garage door completely open and closed, and you're in there for longer periods of time, and he looks calm on the security monitor. The next thing is we go start the car. We're not going anywhere, just start it and stop it, and come right back inside. And then each time we do it a little bit longer, as long as he's calm about it, but there will be steps where you're going to have to repeat the step over and over and over again, and it'll seem like, man, he's not getting it. We just went through this with the kennel, and he hates the kennel. This is the same kennel that he hated. He wouldn't go anywhere near the kennel. After a while, he started going to the kennel on his own. And then eventually, without prompting, he went into the kennel and laid down. It took about 2 hours, but he did it completely on his own because we used positive reinforcement. We didn't force him. We didn't punish him. This is why we don't use that old way of training of forcing a dog to do something. That's going to validate all of his fears. And this is what happens because we're busy. We got to go to work, and the dog's destroying the house, so we have to put you in this bedroom. Or whatever it is. Now he has a bedroom that he goes into. His guardian recognized that he panics with the kennel, so they stop putting him there, put him in a bedroom, and they're like, well, as long as he destroys just one room. But the idea is we want to do the same sort of thing, put him in there, close the door, and it'd be nice to have the security camera in there, and I would just put him in there, close the door, or toss a treat. What I would do first is the same thing we do with the kennel, which was off camera. Toss a treat in there, let him go in there, get it, come up with a completely new word for the room. Every time he licks it up, say palace, and then he gets to leave. And they do that several times. And first just put it like, if here's the doorway, put the treat right here. Next time here, 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 here. So it gets progressively deeper and deeper into the room. And keep on doing that until he goes in the room and he starts lingering in the room. Or he goes in the room without you throwing the treat. The first couple of times he does that, make sure you jackpot him. Give him like 5 treats. He goes in there on his own, boom. There's a jackpot of rewards. Been feeding him a lot of salmon. I think some of it just came out the other end. That's okay. And eventually when we get to the point where you just say palace and he just goes in the palace, what you should see is he should start hanging out in the palace on his own. So when if you put him in the backyard, go put a treat in the palace in the middle of it. After a while, I come in the house, it smells salmon. And he walks around the house and eventually he goes in there. And it'd be nice if you could say the word palace, but maybe he just goes in there and gets it and comes out. If every time we go to a restaurant, we found a $100 bill in the lobby, we're going to eat at that restaurant a lot. So if we give him bully sticks or things along those lines, we want to put those in there so he finds those things in there. I usually like to use marrow bones. And like what I'll do is I'll drill through the marrow, I'll zip tie it to the back of the kennel with the door open. So now the only place I can eat this marrow bone is in the kennel, but the door's open. So we want to practice being calm and more time in the kennel. So we may do the same sort of thing in the bedroom with a bully stick that we drill through it and we attach it to something. So he can chew on the bully stick, but he can't leave the room with it. So he practices being in that room. And eventually we get to the point where we put him in the room and then we close the door. And at first we just close the door and open it right, just like I talked about going in the garage. And then eventually longer and longer periods of time, and we help him practice being in the room, but we're home while we're doing this. So now, and this is what a lot of people do with the kennel, is they're like, well, I don't want to ever put the dog in the kennel unless I'm leaving. But then that's what the kennel represents. So I don't want to give him the treat right away because he was startled by that sound. I try to redirect his attention. I'm going to show the guardian like a focus exercise. They can do something like that to get him to look at something else. Redirect the dog's attention towards something else. But basically we want to help him practice being in this new room while we're home for longer and longer periods of time until he's just casual and goes in there on his own. And at that point, we can put him in there. Once you get him to the point where, passive training. Once you get to the point where he can stay in there for up to 2 hours, he's fine. He'll be able to stay in there beyond that. Then what we would do is maybe recreate some of the sounds of us leaving. Put him in there and then go open, close the door, and then come back to the room and open it up. So again, the whole point of this is to help him practice each step and to interrupt or let him out of it before he starts getting anxious or frustrated or worrisome about it. And if we go very systematically, we'll deprogram of all of these different things. The mistake most people make is they push too far, too fast. Now, the guardian, if I forget to put the stay, I just went through it, but if you forget how to do it, message me. I would like to teach him how to stay. Have a firm stay, even though he doesn't have the Velcro thing, it's not that it's important for him, but that's a nice thing because it develops self-control. So we can put him in a stay and then practice leaving. Now we wouldn't want to put him in a stay and practice leaving the house. Actually scratch the whole stay thing because he's not a Velcro dog. That's something I do for Velcro dogs, help them practice not being, because they have to see you, otherwise they panic. He's not that way. But if we just are systematic about programming this, and then we also attack the angle from the other angles by changing the leader-follower dynamic, by enforcing rules consistently, by rewarding him for desired actions and behaviors, by petting him with a purpose, by helping him desensitize him from all the different triggers. All these things cumulatively will help him get over it. Now the guardians are doing a really great thing for him. A lot of people, the dog's fearful of the kennel, and they work on the kennel, but they still put the dog in the kennel every day when they go to work, and that just undoes all the work that you're doing. You can do it, but it'll take you like 25 times as long. They're really good because they actually take him to to a parent's house, or somebody stays here. So we'd like to do that as much as possible without putting him in that back bedroom while we practice that. Now we did about 2 hours and we got the kennel achieved. We're not done with the kennel, but so I would make that part of your thing like maybe 5 times a day we're gonna practice this. Maybe twice in the morning or whatever it is. And when you have days where the guardian has a different sort of job where she's not working every day. So if she can practice this through days like today where she's not working, just practice it. And spend like 10, 15 minutes practicing, and then go do your own thing, and then come back to it maybe once an hour. And you practice it all day long for about 5 minutes an hour, you'll get a lot of repetition. After a while, he's just like, oh, this is a drill. She never leaves when we're doing this. And that's the whole point. We want him to not be bored about it, but to be boring. I'm trying to think if there are other little tricks for separation anxiety. A lot of it is not nurturing the unbalanced behavior. So asking the dog to do something before you pet it and not petting it when it's fearful will be a big thing. It's probably the smallest thing you can do that will have the biggest impact. But all these things that cumulatively, if I can speak properly, will help him be more and more confident about being alone and being in the kennel or being in the bedroom. And every time she leaves, it doesn't represent she's leaving for sure. And after a while, we'll be able to leave. Now, when you actually get to the part where you start your car, and going back to the garage thing, at first you might start the car, when you get to the point where you start it and you can put it in gear and you back it, maybe at first you just back it right out of the garage, come right back in, turn it off. Next time you're backing a little bit further, so same sort of thing. When you start leaving, gradually longer and longer periods of time. That's why I'd recommend getting a security camera, because you can usually move them around your house. They're Wi-Fi, and that way you get a watch on your phone, and you're like, oh, 2 minutes, you start panicking. So I have to go back and practice at 1.5 minutes, or 1 minute, 45 seconds, or whatever it is. But again, have somebody, Joe, if you could follow her around with that camera, sorry, you have to get up early for when she's doing it. But if you can go around and make that list of things and deprogram of those things, that will be, that way you have a list of things to knock out. All right, Buster, you want a treat? Sit. Sit. I got you a little static electricity, didn't I? This is Buster, and these are some tricks and tips that you can use to stop any dog like Buster from having separation anxiety.